match for you in the Mayhem Winter Classic. It is second win, advancing on. Sorry, Old Man Strength. I gotta change my sticky notes. It's always something good to do. But second win is out of the tournament. I cursed it as Old Man Strength moves on to face Skyfoxes.
Yeah, and again, this is a rematch that we've been kind of waiting on a little bit, right? I mean, this is something that we saw back in Breaking Barriers #1. We haven't seen these two teams really battle it out on stream for us to that degree ever since, and it has been a few weeks, and I think a few weeks can do a lot. I mean, we've already seen what just a couple weeks can do for Revival versus their rematch against the Breaking Barriers #2 grand finals matchup, where we saw Revival actually go ahead of Skyfoxes, and through Breaking Barriers, Skyfoxes, whether it be as Skyfoxes or as Yo-Yes as they were in week 1, were incredibly dominant. I mean, to the point where it seemed like they were unbreakable, but now very much unlike the Shields were. However, but now, you know, we've gotten to a point where it seems like Skyfoxes, they can be dealt with. However, the question remains, is Old Man Strength capable of being one of those teams that can deal with the pressures that this team exudes, which is both team play and virtue of having Asking and Speedily on your team, right?
Right. That's been a DPS duo that was probably the best duo coming into 2020. Just they were already solid on the May Reaper, the Doomfist, like everything. They know them. They've been playing this meta, it feels, for ages. Well, Skyfoxes, we already said they've improved their rosters so much. Just in the recent tournaments, you've already highlighted winning Breaking Barriers out of the hundreds of teams that are participating. But then you have someone like a team like Old Man Strength coming out of the woodwork. Were kind of quiet as their roster began back in July of 2019. Then winning Practice Open Division, winning a few tournaments here and there, placing well in the Breaking Barriers turn, of course, behind Skyfoxes, as you mentioned. Now they're facing off against Skyfoxes, but they've also, Old Man Strengths have taken out some really good teams in this tournament. They're a tier 3 team that have taken out Angry Titans, taken out Uprising Academy. Now you just saw on stream they took out Second Win. Can they do the same to Skyfoxes?
Yeah, I mean, a continuation of that level of play would be absolutely insane. And again, against a team that's was probably touted as one of, if not the best teams coming into this tournament, based purely on their performance throughout Breaking Barriers 1 and 2, where again, they won both of those. So now that we've seen Third Impact come out and have such an incredible run through the bracket, waiting in grand finals already, and then Revival, of course, being able to take out Skyfoxes and send them into the lower bracket into this position, it's crazy to see Skyfoxes here and not in the grand finals where we would otherwise expect them to be, but here they are nonetheless, and Old Man Strength have the benefit now of being in a best of 5 scenario against them, where they could potentially have 2 control maps, where Old Man Strength, they're probably playing at their best with Yeatle on their team and playing into that Hammond dynamic that has worked out well for them so far.
So much on the line. The losers bracket means you lose and you go home. This is a best of 5, I promise you this time. And as Skyfoxes got knocked out by Revival, they want to go up against them in the losers finals, while as Old Man Strength lost to Third Impact. Third Impact is waiting in the grand finals, in case you missed that yesterday. Kicking things off on Oasis. What's interesting is Yeatle not on the Hammond, who will be on the Orisa. He will sport that in a Rhino Orisa comp.
Yeah, this is, you know, a lot of close quarters, a lot of corners that you can take very aggressively, so they're going to go for the straight brawl. It's going to be matched as well by Salty and Mikey, so this is really going to come down to just which team can operate this mirror composition better and be more aggressive, take the precedence early.
You just know this Hammond is just not something you want to break out with against a May player like Speedily. Their synergy together is so good, but Old Man Strength with the Lucio were able to just trap them on that right side, and we saw how dangerous Old Man Strength is when they play with that aggression.
Already you can see that Old Man Strength knows exactly what they're doing with this composition, and they've had the benefit of a warm-up with this one as well, because they were able to win out their map on Busan through Control Center by playing this composition as well. And here you can see a dynamic shift, actually double shield being sported now by Mikey and Salty for Skyfoxes, as they're still playing that close quarters side, playing into the room here on the right side.
This is an interesting spot that Skyfoxes are trying to focus on. Already baiting out that first Maywall from Chinese people, losing their speed. Amplification Matrix used, but another wall comes up from Chinese, blocking the entryway for Skyfoxes. Matrix just not enough to break the defenses of Old Man Strength. Now you have to worry about Hazard, who's got a Death Blossom in the back, and he finds 3! Old Man Strength, hot start so far.
Yeah, and this is going to continue to be a hot start for them as they're just going to keep that burner going. As Cedro, you can see he's actually hiding now in a really good position at the moment to just catch this respawn if he's not caught. And it looks like Mikey is checking his corner, so they do in fact see him. Cedro not going to get away with this one.
Run! Oh, Immortality Field! He's still alive! Panic Shatter! That's what I would have done, but he's smarter and holds it. Skyfox is now hit with a Blizzard. They thought they have one. They didn't count for this one as Hazard dives in a little too close to the sun as Asking finds that kill. And Skyfox has survived the Blizzard. Rotate now to the point. It is a little bit depressing as it is 79% to Old Man Strength though.
And think about how different that play would have looked if they didn't check that corner. So good on you, Mikey, for catching that one, having the ability to sniff him out. Maybe he smells bad. Maybe he didn't take a shower today, but we won't guess. We won't guess. Cedro, nonetheless, he's going to maintain. Oh, okay. He's going to maintain the shatter at the moment. In fact, both of their tanks and their supports, all 4 have their ultimates ready to go. So we could see just a straight bloodbath, a head-to-head, trying to compete against the setup here that defensively we're going to see Skyfoxes try to create a little bit of an onslaught.
Yeah, Old Man Strength securing that corridor so they have a flank opportunity to the back. You can see Hazard was aiming for that. Disengages back to the team as they got hit by the Rabbinic Flux. Supercharger Dragon Strike. It's a volley of ultimates that comes from Skyfoxes, and at good timing. They have such a gap on the score that they have to fill.
Yeah, it's going to be so difficult to maintain this lead, but the good news is that they did pull out 2 ultimates in that last fight, and Skyfoxes, they can now match sound barrier for sound barrier in this next fight, extend it a little bit, and then play off of their Blizzard from Speedily. Asking's now on a really nice pick for his particular skill set. The Hanzo is going to really help Skyfoxes out when he controls those different angles of approach now.
Blizzard to zone out the field. Old Man Strength through the corridor could send Hazard close to a Death Blossom there as Cedro's been holding on. But not for much longer. Shield breaking. Too much damage coming from Skyfoxes. And look at the amount of ultimates too. The Blizzard, the sound barrier, everything, even despite getting that first pick on the Cedro.
Now the question is, what can Skyfoxes do to create an advantage for what is going to be their last fight? And this could be big here if they're able to find a pick, which it doesn't look like they're going to be able to pull off. Now it comes down to Asking and Mudkip getting their ultimates online and finding Yeatle early. They're slowing him down, looking for the kill. They find it.
Ultimate wall! Cedro rock climbing through it. Now a barrier, the last chance with the Dragon Strike and funnels right into Old Man Strength. They're still alive somehow. As Asking to spot a very juicy Baptiste, and he just can't hit the shots that are needed the most. Hit it! As Skyfoxes down their supports, there is no more healing for them, and they can't even break back into the point. Old Man Strength somehow rescue Yeatle from the fire. We got 1 fight left.
I don't know how that shield is able to go through. The physics don't make sense on that one at all, but it still does nonetheless. Now Salty going to try to open this fight with the grab flux, and they're going to press forward.
Skyfoxes, this is their opportunity. Immortality Field used, Shatter, and everyone is dead for Old Man Strength, but a responsive Blizzard. There's to deal with the last member of Skyfoxes being Asking at a 99-99. Old Man Strength will get first blood.
So again, the benefit of the control for Old Man Strength, it's gonna be something that later in this round, I mean, it could very well come up again. Best of 5 means you can see control come up twice. Heck, if you see a draw at some point, we could actually even see it 3 times. So when we go to these control maps where you know Yeatle's going to be in play, where they could run this composition with this Reinhardt Orisa, where they have so far been incredibly successful. I mean, 2-0, 100% win rate, you know what I'm saying? But on top of that, when you bring in these ball compositions as well, Old Man Strength, they've been favorable against a lot of other teams that otherwise, you know, through escort maps and assault map types, hybrids even, it's been a little bit more difficult, I would say. I mean, certainly so.
But look at the confidence. Mikey is going to go ham against Yeatle. And of course, an important map for those environmental kills to displace. And you have that center pillar on the point that you can just spin around. But it's like a different decision in compositions as Old Man Strength head back to the doors.
Yeah, they're going to make an adjustment here. And I think this is really just because this lineup actually with Asking and Speedily and Salty as well being on the Sigma, that was a favorable composition for them for this particular setup, because really a lot of that pressure was going to fall onto the backline and onto Cedro, especially where they just were going to be down 3 players like literally all the time. So they make an adjustment here. They have the double shield, bringing Hazard as well. So a lot of CC to deal with Mikey now and Speedily.
So Skyfox is trying to go to that high ground. They knock down some tanks, and you can see that focus shifts from Skyfoxes to go after Cedro. But what's even better is the answer that Old Man Strength had. Hazard with 2. He's gonna be a fear that Skyfoxes have to worry about.
And now you're gonna see the swap for sure come out from Skyfoxes to answer the swap that was answered originally by Old Man Strength. So this is where you see this control-based kind of chess being played, the 4D underwater chess as well, where Old Man Strength are going to have to back off, and now they're at a slight disadvantage, especially in shield control here.
Cedro down early. Heedle will have to carry that part as Skyfoxes find entry into the point. But Asking is on his sniper's perch above, and now he's hitting the shots that matter, but the stun from Hazard saves his life! And he finds even a second kill on the Crusade. As Skyfox is still very healthy in numbers, 4 on the point versus now cornering Chinese food. Hazard comes to the rescue, really just feeds his own body to Mudkip. Now staggering in as Old Man Strength, a little bit disorganized and spread apart, and Skyfox is still looking to take back the point.
Yeah, you're seeing Old Man Strength just diving up to the point to try to extend their lead, extend this advantage, because they know that they have to make at least 1 swap, potentially 2 swaps after the Coalescence from Madero comes out. And they need to make sure that they have plenty of buffer time to actually utilize some of those resources, see if they can get something out of it, and then make those swaps later on so that they aren't at a loss in pure shield pressure, because of course Skyfoxes has a heck of a lot more with their composition at the moment.
Well, Old Man Strength have speed, but they don't have an immortality field, but even then it couldn't save Mudkip. Crusade already drops that immortality field. Hazard is on the high ground, and he's got a Deadeye with your name on it. The Blizzard clears the field for Skyfoxes. They are down and out as Old Man Strength hold on,
and they're able to get the job done with this composition, where you saw actually Hazard running up and making some massive plays. So despite maybe compositionally being at a loss, just the sheer fact that they had ultimates available, they were able to get a lead. And you can see if any deaths come out from Hazard and Madero, you're likely to see some swaps. But look at this lead. They're 20 seconds away from a win here on this first map, and Hazard's actually sticking onto the McCree as well.
Yeah, he got picked off in that last sort of stagger fight, so he's going to be slowly coming back. Skyfoxes might be holding that middle map control to make sure Hazard can't get back safely, but he wins the 1v1 versus Asking, and now you have that Gravitic Flux play start. Skyfoxes have more of the ultimates coming into this fight. The Blizzard just grants them entry into the point. It didn't go after the supports of Old Man Strength, who stabilized themselves with a Coalescence, and now Old Man Strength in the driver's seat of not only this round, but the map entirely. It is 100-57 to close out map 1.
Yeah, and who would have thought that going into this round here, a matchup with Skyfoxes, with Asking specifically, that we would see someone miss 4 or 5 arrows in a row on micro movements coming from a Baptiste that didn't know he was there, and that was Asking. And then we would see a McCree pop off, and that wasn't Asking. Instead, Hazard making massive plays throughout, both on Reaper and on the McCree, and they're able to take a 2-0 over Skyfoxes in these first 2 rounds to take the first map lead.
Skyfoxes, I had my eye on them, especially in this matchup, because of how good Asking and Speedily are on the May Reaper, the Doomfist. They can play anything that is meta right now, and that seems, I thought that would be the kryptonite to someone like Yeatle, and we sort of saw even back on Eichenwald in their last series how much, or even in other tournaments, how much a stun, a freeze, and everything affects Yeatle. Of course, it would affect anybody, but Yeatle especially, and starting your fights out 5v6 is terrible for OMS, but we haven't seen Yeatle be affected that much, and rather OMS matching that type of composition of the Lucio Moira, going with a Reaper, and Hazard finding more opportunities sneaking into the backline that we're seeing on the opposite side.
Yeah, and something that we saw as well on Breaking Barriers 1 was that, yes, now Skyfoxes, or I guess always Skyfoxes technically, I mean, really, something that they did quite a lot, especially on maps where they knew that they were going to see Yeatle, was keep asking on the McCree, run the Mei as well from Speedily, and they were really focusing on pressuring him out. However, this is a new dynamic for Old Man Strength where Yeatle can play Sigma actually very effectively, and he's quite good in that position now where he can be a little bit more dynamic, be a little bit more versatile for his team, and create a lot more problems where Skyfoxes, they can't simply just answer the Hammond and know full well that they're going to get a free map, because Yeatle, he's going to be solid on the Hammond no matter what, but now he's also pretty solid on the Sigma, and that's tough to deal with because now you don't have that same dynamic. Now you have to go for some of your more, normal strats, your vanilla strats of running things like the Mei Hanzo, and you're running that into a composition where Hazard, he's getting a lot of value because of the fact that Skyfoxes knows full well that they have to deal with a lot more issues that are coming out from OMS just being a little bit better of a team than they were even just a couple weeks ago.
You have even Skyfoxes having a bit more split experience. It's not your full contenders roster, as you have additions like Mikey and Mudkip that have more tier 3 experience. And our question before the series started was, Skyfoxes replaced Elk, who's a great shot caller and support player, with Crusade. Yep. And our question, of course, we haven't talked to the teams, and we'd love to know more, is how has that affected their communication structure and mainly their leadership as the fights get super chaotic on Control?
Well, the crazy thing too is that Skyfoxes have had 3 now in the last month, because even before Elk, they had Karkar, which was Elk's former teammate on Fusion University. So it went Karkar, Elk, and then Crusade that they've kind of bounced around with. I believe the first one was on loan. Then Elk was just, he was originally going to be on the roster, but then he went over to Harrisburg University to go into the collegiate scene. So this is now Crusade being brought in from British Hurricane, where, he hasn't really had a ton of really, high level competitive experience throughout the entirety of 2019, because he was spending most of his time, first of all, kind of taking a back seat. Then he was on Nocturnal Essence, and he did manage to play with Netherlands. He was playing with the Dutch through World Cup. So that certainly helped a lot, especially in the recent World Cups, where they have actually done quite well, and even more so in the last 2 years, where they were able to take 3rd and then 5th, 6th as their 2. So I mean, Crusade, he's had some experience, but it wasn't throughout the entirety of 2019. But he's coming in, he's doing well, and I think that despite the fact that they have had some a lot of shifting, I would say, in this role, I think they've been able to deal with it well. And I think that really comes down to, first of all, a good coaching structure. Obviously, the system is working really well. And I would have to imagine that some of those duties are being delegated out to other players on the roster. Perhaps Mikey in the main tank position is calling some of these plays out, and Crusade can kind of pull back and maybe just make some of these, game time decisions of, hey, we have this and this, we know we have this, and we know they have that, and whatever, and we can make this play. Mikey then calls the shot.
Old Man Strength made some changes too, not as much as Skyfoxes. We already kind of highlighted this in the previous series to remind everyone. Cedro is new, Mac and Dimes were recently released, but the core roster of Hazard, Madero, Veg, Yeatle, these are guys who have been competing since July of last year, so there is some pre-existing synergy there, and we've already kind of highlighted their success with this core roster. Now Skyfoxes, they've been just as dominant, but the Old Man Strength have been taking out tier 2 teams left and right in this tournament. Out the gates, it's no surprise Old Man Strength with the Farah Hanzo.
Yeah, I mean, they've been taking out tier 2 teams all day long, all weekend long, all month long, and they already have the lead against Skyfoxes, so I mean, it could happen here as well. But starting things out, you already mentioned they do have the Farah here attacking, and as we mentioned before, one of the answers for Yo Yes and then Skyfoxes has been asking on this McCree Speedily on the Mei. Well, guess what? We've got it right here. Asking is indeed on that McCree, looking to answer Chinese food as well as Yeatle.
Skyfoxes getting pushed back. Immortality Field used early to save the tanks, but you can't save him from Hazard. As halfway to point A, of course, quite a different look that we've seen from Old Man Strength. Considering Skyfoxes chose this map, perhaps because Old Man Strength got full held on this by second win, thinking this is their weakest map, but clearly Old Man Strength are warmed up.
Yeah, they think that they can actually hold them on first and second to make sure they can slow the approach should it get to third, but even more so, they think that they can force Yeatle and Chinese Food to be on picks where they should have advantage with this composition that they're coming out with, but so far, they haven't been able to see that.
So much pressure from the skies and Matrix. Old Man Strength just have to hide. They can just happily push the payload and stay behind it. And Skyfoxes, they're the ones that have to press the advantage. They have to get on this cart, and their shields are breaking. Now Old Man Strength can take angles. And Deadeye wards away Chinese Food, but not only that, somehow finds the tank line of Old Man Strength. This is what they needed to light that fire.
Oh, Hazard trying to turn the fight, though. A big Dragon Strike coming through. And only finds Madero, but Skyfoxes, look at Asking. He's just creating a highlight reel again.
Who is Asking? I only know this character, yeah, but this Asking guy, this guy's clearly doing just as well.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer the Skyfoxes variant with instead on the roster, but you can see Asking is doing just fine. Coming from Uprising Academy, then Samsung Morningstar is blue. Now on the Skyfoxes roster, and his teams, unfortunately, you know, there's been some ups and downs. He did pretty well with Toronto Esports back in beat Invitational Season 5, I want to say. But you know, since then, it's been up and down. Old Man Strength, they're finding a kill here.
That is a dominance asserted barrage if I've ever seen one. Solo barraging a Hammond. I mean, he gets away so quickly, so maybe you take that. They can be very pesky. The Skyfox is still on the back foot now as Old Man Strength regained control of the cart. As a Deadeye will ask and get just as lucky, but he still finds the dome of Yeatle, which is maybe enough.
Yeah, they can start pressing forward, but they still have to deal with this Orisa. They have to get around the shield and find the damage onto Chinese Food, and I'm sorry, but that's just not happening.
It feels like Skyfoxes never really have control of the cart, but they're still stalling it and taking time away. It's now the last minute of the game, and Old Man Strength, they have to win this clearly, but without Cedro, this could be really scary. He's still alive.
Yeah, they actually keep him alive. Madero just pumping his entire clip into Cedro, and now the nano boost onto Hazard looking for the cleanup. Let's see if he can find another play of the game.
There is just chaos on this point. Old Man Strength are done playing around. They're coming out of the retirement home and coming for kids as they get point A. And now you have Hazard going to the Tracer, and he's been on this, but he's harassing the backline, which takes the attention of someone like Mudkip away.
Yo, chill. Those are my kids. Those are my kids. Yo, chill, back off. Well, Old Man Strength, they're going to press forward. Hazard, it looked like initially he was going to swap, but he noticed he did have the Pulse Bomb, and everybody knows 350 damage is a lot more than 300 damage, so now Pulse Bomb's good again,
Very
right?
true.
So Hazard's going to hold on to that one. Going to try to find a kill if he can set things up and really press into that back line once he does throw that out as well to just get some more pressure down.
What? Deadeye immediately killed. Didn't even finish his whistle. Yeatle pounces. Punished on the other side as Old Man Strength still trying to advance the cart, but it's Chinese Food who's going to make a splash in a second. Even with free rockets, you don't even need the barrage, but he will probably use it just because it's flashy. There's a concussive blast. I thought he was setting it up, but he's so far deep in the backline. Skyfox is going to be hard for them to stabilize.
Now we're going to see Old Man Strength pressing forward, and look at this time bank that they have too. 2 minutes at the moment, and once they do cap this, if they can cap this here, because they still have a couple of kills to go, and Asking's still in the way.
Speedily getting on that cart with the rest. How did they turn this around? Old Man Strength just had a few more meters to go, and Skyfox is getting back just in time.
You can see them setting up on the high ground again. That was so dangerous, so close there. I mean, the 2-minute original time bank, that would have been added on to, and that would have been a lot of time to work through those last couple of corners. But now, defensively, you can see Skyfox is setting up on the high ground. They still have the McCree. They still have the May as well, just looking to lock down Yeatle as he presses in. He's going for the mines.
Slept! Chinese Food slept mid-barrage, and Asking follows up with a Deadeye. Skyfox is with the better answer, but the question is, with a minute left, will Old Man Strength press any further than this?
You can see Skyfoxes. I mean, how do you even press forward at this stage where Skyfox is just eating you up? And you can see Speedily now with the Mei has the Blizzard available, looking to lock everything down. Yeetle's already made the swap, and I think this is a great time to make this swap too, because if you press into a Mei McCree, you're already asking for trouble, but when you know that Blizzard's coming online as well, and the Sleep Dart's ready for you, Yeetle, you got to make this swap. He makes it, but with 35 seconds left, you're definitely not building an ult in that amount of time.
And Madero had Nano and gives it up to go to the Moira. They know in this neutral fight this will be more important to dip, dive, and dodge away with that fade ability. Great hold brings 2 down. The freeze follow from Chinese Food. And also a Blizzard from Skyfoxes as Old Man Strength are following up with this. 15 seconds left. People are dropping like flies. It's 3 versus 3 and asking with an important pick. And then headshot on the Madero will be the end of that. As Skyfoxes claim the cart, Old Man Strength are nowhere to be found. But surely this is a farther push than they did against Second Wind.
Well, we did see Second Wind stop them in third, so Skyfox is coming up and just a little, keeping them a little bit shorter, which is nice. And this is perhaps why they actually did want to go ahead and you know, pull this map out, because again, they can really try to see if they can force Yeetle onto this Hammond and then play asking Speedily on McCree and Mei. And they have an inherent counter there. You make sure that you have Yeetle forcing over to the Sigma. We've seen how he can play Sigma pretty well, but I think if they force that matchup, they feel that they're just going to be a lot stronger. Obviously, they have a lot more experience roster v roster on that particular matchup. So if things do go to the double shield, I think Skyfoxes are just as happy. But in the meantime, they're just as happy if they can actually hold that hard counter. Because that's in effect what it is. It's a hard counter. You're dealing with Chinese Food and you're dealing with Yeetle with your DPS lineup inherently.
So important to have a good hit scan, not only against Chinese Food, but as you said, having a fantastic McCree like asking against Yeetle has been the kryptonite. And somehow that Mikey is matching this Hammond and doing Yeetle things into the backline. You're having this mirror matchup, and Old Man Strength had a good momentum going with several minutes into point B, but eventually dwindled away from just a better defense from Skyfoxes.
So now, once again, the Ana coming out, actually matched as well by Mudkip here. And we're going to be seeing Mikey once again on the Hammond. So we'll see if Asking can actually take control of this attack here, because he's going to be the one charged with dealing with Yeetle and Chinese Food to start things out. And already Salty taking a little dip.
Taking a swim for the moment, as Mikey will just still mess around in the front line, but he's getting halted, getting slightly annoyed, and he even have to worry about the sleeps as Skyfoxes reset momentarily. But with that first pick on the hazard, Old Man Strength can't be too comfortable here.
Oh, well, by the Salty for the second time. Can 9,000-pound horses, can they swim? It doesn't seem like it.
No, they sink to the bottom, and they are very angry.
Well, Salty goes for a second lap, but we'll hope that he doesn't go for the third, because that would certainly not be good for, I mean, obviously his life, but also for their morale.
He does it again.
Well, he gets asking this time, so at least it's someone different. But
someone else can mold about it.
Yeah, Chinese Food and Steedro have been relentless, and I would be incredibly annoyed at this point if I was trying to cross that bridge and I was getting yoinked left, right, and center.
Oh, bye, Mudkip. I mean, Chinese Food, this is actually a different positioning for Far, as usually on the defense, you'll be on the other building opposing to that. So you have a safer position to disengage to. But for him to be at this position, at least he gets better concussive blast, but could be a little bit risky for him to disengage once Asking finds his bearings.
Yeah, and not that Asking would be this person, but imagine looking at your Orisa and just being like, I mean, you literally have a cooldown to not fly off the edge, and then you get halted or sent off the edge by Chinese Food. But now Old Man Strength, you can see this rotation. It's a different approach here. Old Man's going to be right there to answer it, though.
This is kind of a snowball thing happening when you've been winning fight after fight, not much answer. You have this stack of ultimates. But Skyfox has got a few picks of their own. They don't have their full 6 to stabilize on this cart, but they have warded Old Man Strength back. But they're able to just get right back on that cart. Crusade? Oh, he survived.
Oh, I thought
Exo, but I thought he got him too.
I thought he got him. I was about to lose my mind if he went off the edge there. But Old Man Strength, it looks like they're going to recuperate. They have their ultimates ready to go. A lot of damage increases as well.
Oh, I'm seeing a dip, dive, and a dodge barrage with your name on it. Maybe not yours. I'm expecting the doorway, but you still take those. A lot safer of a barrage to go for than with a McCree in your face. As a minute 24 left to Skyfoxes, kind of dried out right now.
I don't know. I mean, they shouldn't be dried out because they've gone for how many swims? They should be soaking wet at the moment, but they've got nothing, it seems. A minute, 10 seconds left, and you've got Speedily. He's got the Meteor Strike, but I don't know if that's going to solidify a kill for them. They have to get into a position where they can get into the backline with Speedily and Asking with Mikey there as well to support.
There's not a ton of targets for Skyfoxes to go after with his Doomfist. I mean, Old Man Strange has had to play so much farther back, but with this sort of coordinated dive of a Hammond Tracer, and now with Doomfist, it's starting to corner Old Man Strength, and getting after the supports is clearly the key. Madero down, Antal not safe enough to go for any resurrects in the corner of death, flies back to the backline, and Skyfoxes close enough to claim point A.
This is all about dealing with Madero, and they've done that. So this fight should be won. The only difference being that maybe this Hanzo ultimate, this Dragon Strike, can come through and find some value. Hazard's been known to do that. Unfortunately for them, not this time around. And we will see Skyfoxes come out ahead, but that's what this composition is all about here. If Mikey and Speedily, as well as Asking, stay on these picks, which at the moment it's looking like they're going to do, it was at least all about dealing with Madero in the backline on that Ana. Now that we're seeing these support swap-ups, and I really do like this because he was a sitting duck in the backline with only a Mercy to help him, and that's simply not enough
Can't
healing.
fade from this? Actually, you can. But Hazard can't fade out of it, so true. Now you got a Nano Doomfist. Oh, thank God it's not the other person's minds, and he has a little bit of safety. Going for another punch. Who's the lucky victim? Tossing almost everyone up into the water. Meteor Strike, the halt setup. Oh, look like someone got booped away from it. What? What? Okay.
They walked it in.
Quad? Skyfoxes? Oh no! They pushed the cart to the box of victory in front of the eyes of Old Man Strength.
Yeah, and that right there is just space control. Dirtied them right there as well. Skyfox is coming out ahead, and you can also speak a little bit about perhaps the speed adjustment that incurs on everybody that is affected by the halt, because right at the end there the halt came out and then there was a definite speed penalty that happens. It's very difficult to, well, A, move away, but also to get back onto the payload. So perhaps that's why we saw that Meteor Strike miss and not find full value, but also it could be why that payload just walked right on through with nobody else contesting it. So I think inevitably that did help out in the long run.
That was actually nuts. Like the swap to the Doomfist Tracer, you would think against the composition of a Pharah just raining down rockets that this would be really hard to survive long against. But with at least a half hybrid dive, just running after the supports, forcing Madero off of the Ana, you said it right. The change of playstyle that Skyfox has brought to the table forces the map 3.
Yeah, and I think at this point, where we're getting into this stage where it's a big back and forth and you've seen basically the same map progression, we can almost immediately assume that we're going to be going to Eichenwald, and you can almost immediately assume that Yeetle's staying on this roster at the moment. They're not going to sub out for Veg. They want the ability to run that Hammond because it can be a little bit of a back and forth scenario. However, we have seen Skyfoxes kind of find a direct answer. We've seen that McCree, we've seen that May come out. Something very similar to Breaking Barriers #1. Maybe it took them that full control map to finally learn and adapt, but they've done it now.
It is a tie game at the half of this best of 5. Loser is out of the tournament, and the winner moves on to see if they can get a chance at the prize pool. We'll throw it to a quick break, and while you're waiting, don't forget to put !gift. And if you're under 35, it is free to register for a swab kit to help find a cure for patients with cancer illness or blood cancer illnesses. So we'll see you guys after this short break. It's a tie game between Skyfoxes and Old Man Strength. The Skyfoxes were able to even up the score. Now Old Man Strength will send us to Eichenwald, kind of like our last series.
Yeah, it should be no surprise. I mean, it's basically going the exact same way. However, Old Man Strength, they won the last time around when we did see them send over to Eichenwald. But This is going to be, I think, a little bit of a different look because Skyfox is inherently trying to do something a little bit different, where you do see a lot of that Pharah versus Pharah coming out with Chinese food on Old Man's Strength against most of their competition that they've played so far. Speedily doesn't play the Pharah all too often. In fact, we did see him play it on Eichenwald, and it wasn't necessarily as effective. I think this was back on Breaking Barriers number 2 that we saw him, and it wasn't necessarily as effective as their other compositions. So I'm curious now if they want to just pull out the McCree May. Just pull it out. Why not?
McCree May has worked out. They've swapped to Doomfist Tracer. It seems that they're more focused on winning the ground war. They know that with Yeatle and the Hammond most of the time, they will have a weaker frontline just having the Orisa versus a second tank assisting in any capacity. So it's clear that Skyfoxes have found the strategy that's worked for them.
Yeah, and it's definitely a strategy that they can have continue to work, you know, moving on to Eichenwald. It's still something that they can pull out. I would say the McCree is going to be a little bit harder to pull off. In some cases, you might want to see a Hanzo just for a little bit more shield pressure, focus instead a little bit more so on that frontline battle. That could be an option. However, you definitely can still pull out the McCree. It's absolutely viable. It's just given the angles that you're going to be seeing Chinese food take here, kind of like Rialto, it can be a little bit dangerous just because you have to really overextend to find those angles so that you can put pressure onto the Pharah. However, if the approach is instead to really focus on Yeatle when he does try to push forward, then it's totally fine. And then you can find those angles after. You can basically overextend once you kill Yeatle. So
it's been interesting, sort of the support lineup changes that we saw from Old Man Strength, sort of adapting to whether having Madara on the Ana, which can either nano boost Chinese food, or even nano boost Yeatle at some moments. I don't think it's hazardous seen as much.
Nano boost and Toll, because that's what we've seen, I think, twice today.
Oh, to save the Mercy, maybe in some capacity.
To save the Mercy.
He's even got some sleeps, I want to say, on the other side, and it's just that hit scan pressured against the Pharah. But when there's a little bit too much heat into the backline, Madara will go to the Moira, and you're seeing that decision be made rather quickly, which has saved Old Man Strength a lot.
Yeah, and it should be mentioned as well that this is the new I was gonna say improved, but it's certainly not improved. In fact, very much nerfed Moira, where you know prior we did see the 80 healing per second in an AoE where you can just spit that out. I mean, now it's 62.5. That's a pretty sizable difference in terms of just pure healing output. So if they do wind up making that kind of swap, that's definitely gonna really limit the amount of healing that you get, especially when you're forcing fades out, and that's very much reducing the amount of overall healing as well. But you can see here on the defense a very different composition. In fact, it's once again the Doomfist going to come out from Speedily. Mikey once again on the Hammond. However, asking actually on an Ashe. This is the first time in a long time that I've actually casted an Ashe, unironically.
Yeah. Unironically, so you sacrifice a bit of range playing the Ashe versus a Widowmaker or otherwise, but he's trying to probably lob those dynamites, have a little bit of an anti-dive to be able to use that shotgun. What's also interesting was Old Man Strength starting with a different composition. I think they maybe had a Widow peeking out, but Old Man Strength getting so much free space to not only cross the choke, but they're just walking right onto the point.
Yeah, you can also two-shot Chinese food through healing from the Mercy as well, but unfortunately not going to be able to find the angle as Chinese food went into a hallway instead, and now it's going to be trade for trade. OMS is trying to gain that aerial superiority and do something with it.
Now, this has felt like a rather quick fight and an easy one. Old Man Strength walking towards the point, cornered Skyfox all the way at the back, and that's when you let Chinese food do Chinese food things and just trickle rockets on your supports. So this was a rather really quick take from Old Man Strength, despite some reinforcements from Skyfoxes, not able to do much.
And I like this composition too from Skyfoxes. I just think that the execution needed is just so ridiculously high, right? Because you're talking about coordination from asking, Speedily, Mikey, all at the same time, incorporating Crusade and Mudkip to do their things with Salty, and you have basically two different functions going on simultaneously. It's very difficult to pull off, so that's why we're seeing a swap up a little bit here. Crusade now on the Mercy as they need to answer Yeatle diving in.
Goodbye asking. Mine's on top, and at least Crusade has wings and can try and fly to safety, but not going to be the case. And even Chinese food having some fun with the solo barrage, I think, but it was actually traded out by Mudkip. So nonetheless, Old Man Strength breaking through again, one of the most difficult choke points of this map through those castle doors.
And now it's actually a full-on change where now you have that kind of three-pronged attack once again from Mikey Speedily and Asking, now really trying to focus down on Madero. That's their highlight. If they can get Madero pressured, that's a lot of the healing gone.
Into the high ground, Skyfoxes having Mudkip up there. It could be free biotic grenades. He's going to focus down Yeetle, but he's able to get away. And for a Pharmacy to be taken out that easily, Old Man Strength losing a lot of that damage with that. As Hazard was behind Skyfoxes with a Deadeye, but an even better reaction sleep from Mudkip. And with Speedily following up, that's goodbye.
I really like this swap from Skyfoxes to answer the comp that came out from Old Man Strength, and you can already see the value that Old Man Strength got out of this initial swap. So here's where you see that talk that we had before. I mean, Madero is going to be swapping over to the Moira. Again, it's all going to be about forcing pressure onto that backline as often as possible, force the fades out, reduce that healing so that you can get picks, and Asking looking for just that.
Oh, Mudkip, target of focus, finished. Had used that biotic and the sleep early. His Old Man Strength losing a lot again, and not having Madero, not having Antal. At least because everything has been going so well for them at the start, they have a lot of time to burn.
Yeah, so Yeetle getting a lot of value at the moment by finding picks. Unfortunately, though, Skyfox is diving in with those three, Mikey, Speedily, and Asking. It's just too hard to deal with because they have way too much burst damage, especially with Speedily on this Doomfist. And remember, this is a guy that came in with XL2, a team that was, I believe, 2-5 in the regular season, came through playoffs, got through, made the Gauntlet wildcard, and then went 5th, 6th in Gauntlet as well, based off of this Doomfist right here.
Halt, and the Meteor Strike, and you cursed it here. As soon as you're hyping him up, but it's okay. I take it back. And Cedro tries to get out with his life. And Old Man Strength just had all this momentum they've built up so far completely halted. Even Chinese Food can't get out as more time taken away. And we've been talking about before the series, Skyfox is finding the solution and they stick to it.
Yeah, they know it full well that this three-man dive is enough to get the job done because they can get these kills in the backline quickly enough to actually twist momentum back into their favor. So no matter what happens in their backline, especially as long as Crusade can keep Mudkip and Salty alive, and he's done a good job of that, they can actually extend these fights.
Was trying to find someone, their name on it with this pulse bomb, wanted to support, but did a little bit of a dent into Cedro's armor as they're just trying to get back onto this high ground. This is where Skyfoxes are hanging out, but you didn't expect Hazard to be there already. He's even got a Death Blossom, but with that biotic, Hazard's not going to live much longer, but it's still something built up for Old Man Strength to have this high ground and now to look down upon Skyfoxes instead of the other way around. And the freedom of the skies is just what Old Man Strength needed. Give Chinese Food an inch and he'll take a mile.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you get back into this fight, too, because once Old Man Strength has control of these choke points, and especially after they're not going to be able to deal with Speedily, but they will control these choke points just a little bit, and this fight is going to break down. But Cedro, he goes off the side. That's an opening.
Oh, but Chinese Food creates an even bigger opening barrage. It's Speedily with the 1 HP. The revenge of the Doomfist you ignored comes back, stops the barrage, and even finds the Mercy. They invested 2 people to go after Speedily in just that 1 sliver of HP. Made a huge play for the defense.
Yeah, now they're going to get control here, set back up onto the high ground. Mikey has a little bit of breathing room, and of course can also set back up on top, get those mines online, and go toe-to-toe with Yeetle, and that's going to create some chaos on the payload especially. But as that chaos ensues, when the fight breaks down, Skyfoxes are going to have a compositional advantage because they can start singling out targets one by one and have that defensive respawn advantage as well.
Speedily playing these walls. Oh, he's able to fade out of that one. I know my abilities, but Chinese Food is going to feed a rocket to Asking. Old Man Strength building some momentum, but there's only a few seconds left, and you have to touch the cart. Establishing the cells on the high ground. Madero's separated away from the rest. You only have Antal. That won't be able to go for that resurrect, and Speedily wreaks havoc into the castle walls as the mines. It may be a miracle it finds Speedily, but Old Man Strength have lost a lot, but they're starting to climb back.
Well, on top of that, Hazard basically got a full heal off of Mikey's health pool as well with his shotgun. So they're going to continue this fight out, and despite the respawn advantage, it looks like Old Man Strength should be able to take this one unless Speedily somehow finds an insane pick opener here.
Taking a few more seconds away in overtime. Now a minute 30. I see Cedro heads back to the spawn doors. Probably swap to something that'll assist the Orisa, most likely. But Old Man Strength won't be able to initiate quite quickly until Cedro gets back.
Oh, that was so close there too. I mean, Old Man Strength almost seemed like they had no business taking that point, but here they are, able to get a little bit more distance covered on this payload into the third section of the map for the second time today on this particular stage here. And now Coalescence at the ready. Madera going to look to create that space for his team, set up the Death Blossom from Hazard. He can go off the chandelier.
He's looking for a teleport. The Coalescence already started. The Death Blossom is used, and a shield from the Sigma blocks most of the damage. But Old Man Strength able to equalize some of these picks. And I don't think really losing much besides Hazard. And he's resurrected back in. The beauty of having the Mercy, but no immortality field. They'll still have to be careful without this cooldown available for the little while.
Now Barrage at the ready. Chinese Food kind of hiding out. They don't see him or Antol. Now he's getting boosted. There's the halt in the setup as well.
Oh, deals with the immortality, but the seconds needed to take care of that cooldown. Speedily reacts. Skyfoxes respawn advantage. They just have to keep this up as now they start to run over the front line. No Yeetle, no Cedro. Old Man Strength tossing it all up into the air. Hazard nowhere to be found. And there, Skyfoxes stop this cart in overtime.
What a strange parallel universe that we're living in right now, where this is basically the same thing, right? I mean, this is a strange parallel universe. However, it should be noted. Yeah, absolutely. But now we're in a position where, you know, it's best of 5. So winner of this map, if it is Old Man Strength, if they somehow make that miraculous save on this last corner like they did in their last series, you know, there's still more maps to come. There's still more competition to be had. And so far, teams have been 100% win rate on the maps that they've selected. But, you know, going into this here on their attack, I mean, I would have to expect Skyfoxes really got to step things up a little, you know, in a whole other gear, because that bridge defense should have held. It should have held. However, just by sheer virtue of willpower and whatever other miracles needed to come out and chaos, Chinese Food amongst others were able to pull that play out, and they got a lot more distance covered, 60 more meters past that second checkpoint that really should have been shut down. So now a lot to ask of Skyfoxes to continue this payload progression forward once they do cap point A, if they can cap point A.
And still, can you just, I like to imagine what if sometimes, and I'm thinking, what if Hazard really just popped off and got a 4K Death Blossom? What if Mikey, I think it was Mikey on the Sigma, was just kind of sleeping on the job. You know, if he didn't have that shield ready for the Death Blossom, Old Man Strength could have finished.
What if Hazard went out the chandelier, like I said, and set up the perfect Death Blossom for the 3K instead of the 1K, you know?
Yeah.
What if?
Don't mind that singing. It's okay. You
Hopefully I yelled
Rihanna.
over it and nobody had to hear it.
No, I made my own ears bleed, to be honest. But speaking of bleeding, Speedily took a rocket to the dome and he's able to get out. So Skyfoxes be able to advance, and Old Man Strength have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, and Chinese Food in the meantime just pressuring out. There's the immortality down, so Crusade is now vulnerable. That's easy pickings. Old Man Strength just taking the kills as easily as they were able to in that second point fight. And we can see Old Man Strength actually coming out ahead at the moment. It's really just Speedily keeping the streak alive, and that's it.
Well, it was about that weakened front line of only having an Orisa and Baptiste, and you had Asking and Speedily on their flank journeys while their own team was sort of getting crushed. So it was really Old Man Strength identifying that winning condition and pouncing on the weak spots of Skyfoxes.
And a minute gone now as well. You can see still this kind of half dive sort of setup now, setting up, looking for those openings. And really, I think Old Man Strength have really adapted to this by just kind of bunkering down and allowing Yeetle to absorb most of that pressure.
It's making it so hard for Skyfoxes, like you said, to find a dive target with this Hammond. And Yeetle trying to do the same thing, getting away with 25 HP. Nope, not gonna happen. The Skyfoxes set up camp on the point. It's gonna be Chinese Food that gets halted into the line of fire. Asking doesn't even need to use the pulse bomb, and it's a pretty clean sweep. They'll be able to get the payload.
And that's again another forced swap onto Madero as well, where he's now gone over to the Moira to try to combat this dive. Because again, Madero, especially when he's on things like Baptiste, when he's on things like Ana, he's going to be a primary focus of this composition. I mean, it's literally built to deal with that flex support player, especially when there's a Mercy.
I think Madero might have got dropped to the low ground, I'm not sure, but nonetheless, you can see Skyfoxes bleeding profusely, no healing and no support. Chinese food is in your backline, and that'll be the end of that. Skyfoxes now, because they lost this fight at the castle doorway, it's a huge defensive hold here for Old Man Strength that could be coming up.
Yeah, if they can win out this fight, and that's a big res onto Madero to just kind of sustain this fight a little bit longer and speedily. Can he find the kill in the air? No way.
No way. Oh, the hold barrage. It's nasty. Old Man Strength just dwindling the numbers of Skyfoxes that can't seem to build any momentum as the front line. Without much supporting them behind them, they're sitting ducks.
And speaking of Chinese food, just dishing out that free pressure. And there again is the dive, looking for Madero, but he's got the coalescence at the ready. Antol gonna go down first, though.
Oh, the supports are out for Old Man Strength, and Skyfoxes can breathe a sigh of relief. At least it wasn't too much time there, but it took a few ults to make it happen. And now, how do they just snowball this to get this into point B?
I definitely love this dive composition because this is extending snowballs is all this comp can do, but Old Man Strength trying to build to try to shut that down, coalescence to give them an advantage, and Hazard as well on this Sombra.
It's tough to aim those hacks at the Baptiste because he's able to drop that immortality as he hears that going off, so he can save himself. So I wonder if Hazard is going to keep going for the Baptiste if he's able to drop that, or is this focus going to be Yeatle? Nonetheless, asking, finds two. Pharmacy down for Old Man Strength, and Skyfoxes still stabilized on the payload.
Oh, right there. Hazard with a crucial pick. Taking out Asking might offer them an opportunity, but without the EMP coming online, I just don't think it's going to be a big enough opening as they're going to be able to cancel him out, but still a contest coming out nonetheless.
One last contest, 4 members, Old Man Strength, even Immortality Field now gone away as the Mines buys Skyfoxes some crucial space. And of course, when you have a Doomfist coming from the sky, that'll hurt a little bit. Old Man Strength head back to the spawn doors, but they have a very important ultimate coming up, and it's called the EMP.
Yeah, EMP going to be used here. I would be curious to see if they actually try to hang on to this pick after the EMP, but they need to find value with it now, because if they don't, this card's going to progress forward, and that'll be that. 3 minutes, 20 seconds left. There's a lot of time left here, even if it's going to find value.
EMP drop, catches most of Skyfox, actually only finds the tanks. You don't even need to use immortality there from Crusade. The supercharger, they thought it would be enough, but starting to wish you had that a little earlier as Skyfox is suffering in the support line. Old Man Strength reacting to the EMP perfectly, and still it's enough to win them the fight.
Now, all Skyfox's needs here is just a little bit of give. A little bit of give will go such a long way here, and that's why we saw the initial pick there of the Junkrat from Asking. That tire could give them that little bit of give that they're looking for once they do get it up, and they're not swapping off of it. So it's 82%, very close to getting it. Just a couple more grenades from landing away from getting that rip tire. And if they get a 2 or 3K advantage, that could easily open this point up and allow them to secure.
Old Man Strength are wounded, but they're ready to fight back. You have a supercharger, Blizzard. So many winning conditions for Old Man Strength on top of a respawn advantage. The yellow box of victory is around the corner. And Skyfoxes, you could see their May at an angle, almost looking like waiting for Old Man Strength to get greedy and look for an isolation wall, keep himself saved nonetheless. Skyfoxes using Matrix. Well, extra damage. As you can see, Yeatle was found away from the rest of the team. Now a Blizzard stops Skyfoxes in their tracks. But now you got a tire with Old Man Strength's name on it, heading for the retirement home.
There it
to get
is.
to the spawn doors. They can't close it shut. It is the 3K for Skyfoxes and that yellow box of victory.
And it's as if it was all scripted. I promise you it wasn't, but it's as if it was, right? Asking, making that swap, you know exactly what he's going for. If he can even just find a 2K, that's all he really needs, but he gets even more than that. He gets both supports and an entire other player for a massive 3K that allows them to secure that victory. And that's exactly why you lock in the J Silly.
The J Silly. Spawn doors Not saving them there. In case your memory couldn't remember something from 5 seconds ago. Something I wish Play of the Games had was slow motion, because that was beautiful.
You want to watch that in 0.25, huh?
Yeah, I want to watch that in 0.25.
Check to make sure that asking isn't, getting a little bit of assistance on that aim on the rip tire. But, hey, they've got that advantage now in the series, and that means that Old Man Strength are now going to once again get that map pick. If you are curious, if you want to follow along, you can type !map in the chat right now. That will give you the map pool as well as the order of the map types that we are going to be going through. So if you want to make some decisions yourself, talk about it amongst yourself in the chat, what map you think that they're going to be picking. But as we are getting into this right now, we already know that we're going into Assault. It's going to be either of Hanamura or Anubis. If you already typed in !map, you probably already know that as well. But those are the two maps going to be taken, and Old Man Strength picking that. I have to wonder if they're going to go for Veg here and going into Assault, which again, they haven't had as much success with those Sigma-based compositions.
They're probably surprised themselves that they have to pick this map. I mean, against Second Win, they're able to take that series because of that Eichenwald win. But look, it looks like we're going to Temple of Anubis, and Veg will be substituted in for Yeatle.
Yeah, so we do get Veg in, and it looks like we are going to be going to Temple of Anubis as well for this Assault map. So it's incredibly likely that we're going to be seeing a little bit more of that Sigma for Old Man Strength. And this is, I think, a really, Assault in general, I think was going to be really dangerous for Old Man Strength in particular. And especially now, so knowing that Skyfoxes has series advantage, where they're now, if they win Anubis, that's it. They're going to go forward and Old Man Strength is out. And I think, realistically speaking, if Old Man Strength can somehow, through a miracle or some incredible stuff that they have prepared that I don't know about and I haven't seen from them before, they can make it to Control. I think that they can find their way out of this. But this next map is going to be an uphill battle for Old Man Strength for sure.
I mean, your choices are, Hanamura or Temple of Anubis, both super good May maps. Maybe Anubis slightly weaker. Like, you're talking about Hanamura, you got one big doorway, a May wall, and then you have, like, Skyfoxes with the May Reaper special. I'd have been concerned going to Hanamura with that, but now Temple of Anubis, it's still a May Reaper map, but at least it would have been given Yeatle more fun, but now you can see with Veg coming in, like you said, they're clearly going to go for a Sigma or even a Rissa Rhine play, whatever it may be. But this at least doesn't make them super dependent on the May.
Yeah, and I think to Old Man Strength's credit as well, it doesn't necessarily, especially with this roster swap that they're going to make with Veg being put in, it doesn't necessarily mean that they, have to run the Hammond, and they really, I think, are going to be focusing on just kind of playing that vanilla style where they are going to be playing off of Hazard and Chinese food, I think, a little bit more now, relying on their DPS players that have been playing very, very well, very efficiently, and kind of open things up a little bit more so that Madero and Antor are a lot more safe. I mean, when you do incorporate that double shield composition, everybody's playing as 6 as opposed to playing split. When you do incorporate those Hammond-based compositions as well as with the Pharah, things become a lot easier to kind of control, and that environment becomes a lot more stable. And I think that's what Old Man Strength needs here in this position, which is odd to say about a team that relies on a Hammond composition, right?
Exactly. With Old Man Strength being forced to attack first, you're also setting a very important pace on a map like Assault. If you don't get anything done, it makes Skyfox's job closing out the series even quicker. Old Man Strength have to set the pace first with that momentum on attack first. Having the double shield at least is a good start. But now my question is, what DPS are they going to pick? Is it going to be the May Reaper? We saw that on Oasis. Pharah not going to be so hot, but at least they can swap if it doesn't work. There's so many options Old Man Strength have shown us thus far.
Yeah, I would be concerned if I did see on attack at first that Pharah pick, because yes, they can make those swaps quickly if it's not going to be working out. But I think more often than not, like if you're just rolling dice for percentages, more often than not, the Pharah isn't going to be necessarily the best play, especially going into a team like Skyfoxes. So it's something that you can swap to. It's something you can keep in your back pocket, but I don't think you start out with that. Instead, offensively for this team, I think that realistically, Old Man Strength wants to play around the Mei. They obviously want to play around the Sigma as well. Otherwise, why would you pull Yeatle out for Veg? That's realistically the only reason why you would do that. Play around the Mei, play around the double shield, and go back to your roots. Go back to that vanilla playstyle that allowed you to perform well in other matches. You know, going even back, dating back to the practice season where you played a little bit more with Veg as well. Incorporating him into the mix. I think you have to rely on Veg to make some big plays and really put kind of lean on your DPS players now more than ever.
So the Mei Hanzo will be the recipe for success for Old Man Strength, at least they hope, as a pause kind of dims that a little bit. But we can at least talk about the Mei Hanzo versus why they wouldn't run a Mei Reaper, which used to be the flavor of the month for Overwatch League, especially on Temple of Anubis. But what do you think?
Yeah, so we're going to be seeing the pause come down here, so getting right back into the mix. But to your question, I mean, the Hanzo is just incredibly solid at the moment. It does the most amount of shield pressure, especially with those shield changes that we saw, where we did see the 600 health as opposed to the 900, as well as the Sigma shield change as well. So there's a lot more viability to just throwing out damage into shields and then storm airing either for that shield break or behind that shield break to find kills once you do pressure those shields down. And of course, the Halt Dragon Strike combos. I mean, Hanzo is just such an effective pick at the moment from range to get poke, especially with the Zenyatta in the mix as well.
Able to climb, if you get isolated from a Mei wall, you can climb over that, which maybe to escape, maybe to assist a teammate that's in a lot of trouble. Nonetheless, Old Man Strength, go to that left side. There are some people that got left behind there. Mei wall assisting with that. The Skyfoxes get ready for the upcoming attack from Old Man Strength that already have amplification matrix.
And we'll see Antol drop that down, allow them to get control of this plateau, and actually find a pick onto Salty from the accretion setup that happened there from Veg.
It's a good start. Hazard down, though. As Old Man Strength, they have no idea. Asking is above them. Holy cow, what a collapse from Skyfoxes onto the attack of Old Man Strength. And now they'll get to stagger Veg even more.
Yeah, and that's a shame for them too, because that was such a good start. We saw the accretion come up. They had Antol's Ant Matrix up so early. That would have been the advantage that they needed to at least get control of that upper plateau and then move from there to try to control point. But unfortunately for them, trades were not in their favor, and Asking on that flank is just so difficult to deal with. And he loves those high ground flanks too. So they have to be mindful of that. Asking's going to continue to go for them. You can already see him rotating into it now.
Well, he's trying to line up this Dragon Strike. Antol has to be ready with this Immortality Field as Hazard is going to face off 1v1 and wins it! Immortality saves the rest of Old Man Strength. Now Hazard gets to do Asking things in their backline. Old Man Strength still surviving for the moment. Without Antol, there's going to be a severe deficit in healing as they'll want to slow things down, but not if they have a Transcendence, but the Mei wall slowing things down.
Yeah, that means that with Madera's usage of the Transcendence, Old Man Strength can just continue rushing forward. They don't have to wait for that heal up from Antol. Instead, they could just get control of the point, and now it's going to be up to Asking on this high ground to take that duel once again against his opposition. With the help, he's not going to win that.
Yeah, they identified him so quickly. The halt, the finish. Now the rest of the team from Skyfoxes getting away from the Dragon Strike, just going right through them. Immortality Field buys them some time. Superchargers see if they could take over the fight. There's so many ultimates being thrown at them from Old Man Strength, and they claim point A.
That's a quick take too. Now you have an entire 4 minutes to work with for this next take, and you can go ahead and go forward and start setting up. You need to be building here in this next phase of attacks as well, because you know the defense is going to have those advantages. There's not a lot of opportunity for getting those clean team wipes with what you have at your disposal right now, especially when Speedily dives in and finds 2. Are you kidding me?
That was a jump scare if I've ever seen one. Like top 10 horror movies, you're round a corner and they're speedily ground pounding your team. We weren't expecting that.
So we can already see the value of Speedily on this Doomfist. And there's not a lot of players out there, not a lot of teams, of course, comfortable with running the Doomfist in the current meta. I mean, obviously you see a lot more Reaper, certainly a lot more Hanzo as well. Even more McCree than the Doomfist lately. But Speedily, he's come out with this more than a few times already in this one series alone, and he's found value every single time. So now backing up. They're looking to try to find that clumping, that engage opportunity for Speedily to go in once again once he gets this last cooldown online.
But they must know that Madero just swapped to the Brigitte. Getting that shield stun onto Speedily could spell the end of him, and having that 6v5 is that type of initiation, that momentum that you want to create to get into point D assault. So just surviving that Dragon Strike is a good start. Old Man Strength to that left side, get hit by the Gravitic Flux, and they lose Antol. Immortality not saving him, the healing not saving him. Now you're having, of course, less heals, running that Brigitte because you want that stun onto Speedily so bad. They're still getting onto the point, but Skyfoxes are waiting for them.
Yeah, Skyfoxes, they're so good about just disengaging, pulling back away from that aggressive play that came out, rounding that corner, coming out through Dark from Old Man Strength. And now Old Man Strength, I mean, they've been in a building phase for quite a long period of time now, looking to kind of brawl a little bit as they have incorporated this Brigitte, trying to get in the faces of their opposition, put some stuns down onto Speedily, but they haven't been able to find him. Instead, Speedily's finding them.
Rock, paper, scissors, but somehow the scissors beat the rock, I guess, because Madero is the answer to Speedily, but not going to be the one. He's still going to stick to it. Rally's going to be coming out shortly. You never swap when you have ult, unless you're Madero. He swapped when he had Nano on Eichenwald. But Skyfox is still playing things slow, having Salty come out of spawn, and Old Man Strength are coming.
And you can see Skyfox is ready to drop the Ant Matrix now, looking to try to just sustain through this as best they can. And so far, they're doing okay.
A Supercharger, sort of used earlier on in the fight and then blocked by their own May wall. And Speedily's in their backline. He does get stunned, able to get out. Here's the assist from the high ground from Asking. Halted, careful there, but Old Man Strength still crushed by the re-engagement of Skyfoxes.
So a decent first fight opening in a neutral. Oh, wow. In a neutral on point A, but and then after that, finding the victory to get point A rather quickly, but now hit a brick wall in this attack. And these DPS players, Speedily and Asking, are coming up huge, finding the picks that they need. But realistically, Skyfox is playing incredibly well as a team at the moment, playing around each other, looking as cohesive as they did through breaking barriers on a little bit different of a composition. Speedily on this Doomfist instead of May.
Oh, Speedily always initiating first, the Dragon Strike, to see if he can catch Old Man Strength, which finding Antol so important. Look how much less healing Old Man Strength have. They're starting to rally early, but now their winning condition is Chinese Food's Blizzard. Could be countered by Mudkip's Transcendence. Hazard winning that is big. Old Man Strength are on the point. They could get this 33% for free as Skyfox is a little bit split behind the attacking team. 15 seconds left. The last try that Old Man Strength have. They had such a good start, almost getting that first tick, but as soon as Skyfoxes woke up, rotated back to the point, Supercharger, damage, all the ultimates they had left, they shut the door on Old Man Strength, who will not be able to get the 33%. There is a stall from one or two more players, but it would need a miracle to make it happen.
And a miracle they will not find. Skyfoxes, again, just that comp swap was so clutch for them. And who would have thought that it would have been the Doomfist that gets the job done? And even more to that effect, who would have thought. And I think this really speaks to the intelligence level of maybe Speedily alone, but perhaps his entire team, maybe his coaching staff as well, to pull this particular character out against specifically what we saw there from Antol and Madero, which was the Baptiste as well as the Brigitte. I mean, that's an insanely hard thing to go against. But here's the thing that you have to remember, and this is why I think it's so smart. Both Immortality Field and the Bash coming out from Antol and Madero respectively, they have height. They have height. So if you actually jump, if you jump in and immediately shift up, if they don't answer literally on that frame, you are midair now, and you have a target in midair with you. So it's not going to get saved by the Immortality, and they will not peel with the Bash because again, you are above them, both of those effects. So it's actually incredibly smart the way that Speedily is engaging, because he's saving his punch to get out as well. So instead of going in with punch, going up and then Eing in or something like that, he's Eing in, shifting up, getting everybody away from the Immortality, finding the kill, and just punching out for free every single time.
Also speaks that he's not the type of Doomfist that just sits behind the shield, charges up a punch, and kind of rolls the dice on who he's gonna kill. He finds those angles that he's completely hidden in. Like, even when Old Man Strength were coming out this corner, like coming out of the spawn doors, he even gets a kill onto Madero, who's on break. Even with the stun, he gets out. So it's not going to be the Doomfist this time, because point A is so important to be how you control the area with the Mei. But we could expect a point B push to be a different story. So far, trying to go to that left side. Immortality used early here for Skyfoxes. Punished.
Those first opening picks, yeah, punishing the rotation in. Old Man Strength, they're going to take those all day long. They need to peel off as much time bank as absolutely possible, because they didn't get a single pick on point B, so everything has to get done here on point A if they want to extend this and try to get themselves a victory. Otherwise, we're going to go into a draw, and still that advantage is going to be in favor of Skyfoxes.
Hazard was finding those angles earlier. You can't be creeping up to get that extra ult charge. You have to be careful, and Cedro not dropping quick enough. Now only one shield remains for the defense. You can see Chinese Food has been on a flank, and Hazard attempting to climb a wall, and Skyfoxes setting up on the point, using the Mei wall as more of a protective ability to help Mikey out. They know their front line is going to be stronger at the moment, but the target focus seems to also be Mudkip, who drops earlier on the second time. And Hazard versus his opposition, who's going to win this 1v1, and it's asking.
And that's huge too, because they gain control of the high ground. They also have respawn advantage coming back just a little bit closer to get into position where they have the better sight lines coming back in as well. A little bit more, a few more angles to take as well. So they're going to easily take this now, and they have, again, plenty of time. They're going to have just over 5 minutes once they full cap this out. And again, they only need one tick, and if they take that, game's done, series is done, they're going to go on to take Revival on once again.
This is big. 5 minutes to do so. That is a tough order for Old Man Strength to defend for that long. That means series of ultimates. It's not just one round of ultimates. You're thinking of many things, and even Skyfoxes can swap to different things, but a Gravitic Flux initiates the fight for Old Man Strength. Immortality Field used early as Skyfoxes heal back up. So having the Bab Zen, a little bit more utility, Transcendence for the Blizzard, but you're also worried about having less healing.
And already you can see the setup. They can take a slow approach here. Skyfoxes know full well that they can just go ahead and press out, go for the Amp Matrix, look for the first pick, and they've got it.
Chinese Food steadies up, gets ready for the Blizzard, sets up the wall, funnels them in, but a counter Blizzard stops a follow-up. Transcendence was ready for Madero, but not for Mudkip. But Skyfoxes, they're still alive. To survive that Blizzard is incredible. Now they can use their Transcendence to engage into Old Man Strength, to tip the resource balance, and to tip the series in their favor. Skyfoxes ward them off, get the 33%, and they move on to face Revival.
And breathe a sigh of relief there as well, because Old Man Strength has been taking teams out all weekend long, all month long. I mean, this has been an insane run already for Old Man Strength, and I'm going to say it's continuing. I mean, yes, they wind up losing here in the Losers Semis, going into the Losers Finals. Sure, they take the loss, they take the L straight to the chest, big one on their forehead. That's fine. They can take those, because remember, this is a team that came out of nowhere prior to practice season of Open Division, really. So very recent. I mean, we're talking what, November-ish or something like that. And then over the past month have been on an absolute tear with really high placements in every tournament that we've seen them in against really solid talent. Again, went finals all the way against this same exact opponent in Breaking Barriers #1. So they've been on a tear, and you have to respect the grind that they've been going with a lot of names that we simply haven't seen before, taking on a lot of names that we absolutely have.
I mean, Old Man Strength to come out and take out teams like Angry Titans, Uprising Academy, Second Win is still, like, I was kind of naming them the tier 2 killer, coming out of tier 3 and showing everyone who is boss, like resume who. And for them to get this far, not only in this tournament, but Breaking Barriers, they made a name for themselves. So I'm super excited to see how the future for them is going to go in 2020. But you can't deny Skyfoxes being this revitalized, this juggernaut of a team themselves, leveling up their roster, winning Breaking Barriers both 1 and 2, as you mentioned, to now set themselves further on in the tournament to get their revenge against Revival.
Yeah, I think I mean, speaking to a couple of the players and coaches in the tier 2 NA scene, a lot of people have really kind of said a lot of the same thing, which has been Skyfoxes has been really good about getting their roster early on and setting up a lot of their synergy as early as possible. So they've had the benefit of developing a lot of this cohesion and a lot of these set plays and everything very early on, and developing strategies and understanding how each other are playing and what kind of decisions they want to make in real time. And they have had this benefit. Now teams are slowly catching up as they finalize their rosters. So I think this is really the big test for Skyfoxes. Are they really going to stick in? And I think it comes down to this next set of matches for them. If they can make it through to the grand finals and then contest third impact as well, that's really going to speak volumes to what this team has been already capable of and what they'll continue to be capable of moving forward, where we have, seeding tournament right around the corner, right?
Right around the corner, I think on the 11th or something like that. I'm still waiting to hear the news of how that's going to go. But Skyfox, I mean, incorporating half a tier 3 roster, half a tier 2 roster, changing their main shot caller or their main leader being Elk to now whoever it is, incorporating Crusade at least. It's still impressive that they're making it this far in the tournament and they still look as organized and decisive as they are. But when you run a Doomfist comp or you run these May Reaper, May Hanzo comps, maybe it's more asking it speedily that are leading the charge. And when they're popping off like the way they are, you let them do what they want.
Yeah, and imagine how insane it would have been to say at the beginning of this, well, if you close your eyes and don't see Speedily on the roster, at least we'll put that out there as a disclaimer.
I'll try.
You close your eyes, you don't know Speedily's on the roster. Imagine saying that a team is going to win in this current meta based off of some insane brick walling defense that happens because of a Doomfist player that's playing into a Baptiste and a Brig. And not that it works, but that it works out insanely well as well. I mean, nobody would have believed that because it would have been just such a low % chance of actually happening. And yet Skyfoxes playing off of what they know their advantages are and playing to what they know they can get away with. And they got away with quite a lot in this last map.
Skyfox is taking Breaking Bears 1 and 2, but sent to the losers bracket of this Mayhem Winter Classic. They want their revenge against Revival. Will they get it? Revival was the team that knocked Skyfoxes from the winners bracket to here, and they're making their journey through the losers bracket to make their way back. Our next match on stream will be the revenge of Skyfoxes versus Revival. Don't go anywhere. We will have a caster swap. We have Necra and Rich Rad coming on the mic. We'll be finishing off the losers finals and then concluding the tournament with the grand finals, which is third impact, waiting for the winner of Revival versus Skyfoxes. So during our lobby break, make sure you put !gift so you can find out how you can become a bone marrow donor for people with blood cancer illnesses. It is free to get a swab kit sent to you if you're under 35. I did it. If it's easy enough for me to do it, you can do it as well. So we'll see you guys on the other side of this music break.